comic book fans, and welcome to Cammy's Comic Corner, The Punisher episode. With the whole release of The Punisher Warzone coming out this past weekend, I decided, hey, now would be a perfect opportunity to talk a little bit about the Punisher universe, some books that you might enjoy, and other movies based on the character. Now, The Punisher, created by Jerry Conway, Ross Andru, and John Romita Sr., first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man number 129. He was a vigilante. He was actually an antagonist to Spider-Man in that issue, working for the Jackal. Then at the end of the issue, he snaps out of his senses and decides, hey, I'm going to go be a good guy, in a sense, by killing bad guys. The Punisher, a.k.a. Frank Castle, his whole story is that he was a Vietnam veteran, and after coming back home, goes to the park one day with his family. And they're all having fun until they witness a mob execution. And then the mob turns on him and kills his family right then and there. Punisher swears that his family will be avenged and kills any mob/mafia, anyone crime-related, any bad guys. He's going to kill them and become a vigilante himself, take justice into his own hands. Now, because of his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man, he got a little bit of a fan base, and people wanted to see more of the Punisher. So, in the 80s, Mike Zeck and Stephen Grant had a little 4-issue miniseries about the Punisher, and it did so well that the first issue, when it hit stands, sold out. And, you know, back in those days, that meant something. That meant it was pretty popular. So because of that success, even more, it was Punisher Mania in the 80s and early 90s, with whole other series like Punisher Warzone, Punisher War Journal, Punisher the Armory, and so forth. But unfortunately, in the mid-90s, all 3 titles were canceled due to poor sales. And even they tried to bring him back as like a spirit of vengeance, kind of like in DC with the whole Spectre, only he was more of a kind of a Ghost Rider as killing. It was kind of ridiculous. Until in early 2000, a little creative team, you might have heard of them, named Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon, fresh off from the Preacher series over at Vertigo, were given a chance to see what they could do with the character. And so under the Marvel Knights banner, Ennis and Dillon started their 12-issue miniseries called Welcome Back, Frank. And it involved the Punisher laying low at this apartment complex, getting to know the neighbors, while at the same time killing this one mob, the Nucci family. And Ma Nucci, being the head of the mob, you know, she gets viciously attacked by polar bears, calls in this one Russian hitman called the Russian, who's an unstoppable killing machine, to take care of Frank Castle, and they battle it out. Later on, in the 2004 movie of The Punisher, this was the series the movie was loosely based on. But enough about that. This miniseries over at the Marvel Knights banner, it did so well that it spawned an ongoing 37-issue miniseries with Dillon and Ennis. You know, sometimes the artists changed up. But it was really fun, only it kind of got repetitive in my opinion. It was always a different, oh, he's going after the mob again, or another family. It just didn't really evolve much from that. But after that 37-issue miniseries, Ennis went on to do the Punisher Max series. And the Max imprint over at Marvel is kind of a more for mature audiences, kind of like Vertigo over at DC. And so with this new imprint, Ennis had a chance to go ahead and make more creative, bloody, realistic, I don't know if I'd say realistic stories, where the Punisher didn't only have to stay in New York City. He could go around the world. He could battle the Yakuza, drug cartels in Mexico, Russian mobs over in Russia. He was all over the place. And there was more blood and gore and language, because when you think the Punisher, you don't exactly think Superman as far as heroes go. You think of him as an unstoppable killing machine. Also under the Marvel Max banner, Ennis and Derek Robertson of The Boys and Transmet fame, they collaborated for a 4-issue miniseries called Punisher Born, which basically set around the Vietnam era of Frank Castle and how even back then he was an unstoppable killing machine, but he was the 100% soldier back in Vietnam and made sure he never lost a man. It was I enjoyed that miniseries. It's only 4 issues, so if you want a little bit of the whole Frank Castle Vietnam era, I would recommend that series. And another thing about the Max series, or even the Marvel Knights, are the covers, the Tim Bradstreet covers. They are just magnificent because it really has a realistic feel for Frank Castle, and I don't think Tim Bradstreet gets enough credit for these covers. This is how the Punisher should be. It just different lights, different weapons, different guns. It just reeks of Punisher. It reeks of Frank Castle. And I think I give props to Bradstreet because those covers are just amazing to look at. So yeah, if you really want the good Punisher stories, I would recommend the Ennis stuff. Sure, the 80s stuff is okay too, but to really get a feel, it's the Max titles, or the Marvel Knights titles. Ennis just fell in love with this character, and really shows, and that's one of the best things about when writing a comic, is when you know that the writer and artist, they love the character so much that they don't want to like fuck it up big time. They're not going to do it for the money or just hope to get it up on the big screen for movies. No, none of that. But if you don't want to pick up the volumes or trades of Punisher, I would recommend maybe a couple of the one-shots. They have an ongoing Christmas special, which if you want more on this Jason Aaron Christmas special, tune into Cammy's Comic Corner episode 58. That was my pick of the week. I loved it so much. And also they have a one-shot called Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. And this is just kind of a fun, as the title suggests, it's the Punisher, only a different light, where the heroes couldn't stop the villains from killing his family in the park. And so he takes revenge on the Marvel heroes. Some of the deaths of the heroes are kind of questionable, like, really? Could he really take down the Hulk? Like, that seems kind of far-fetched. But other than that, it was a silly series. Now, onto the movies. If you like non-stop shoot-'em-up films, then, The Punisher was made for you, that target audience. Back in 1989, among the whole Punisher hype, Dolph Lundgren starred in The Punisher. And it was pretty much The Punisher versus the Yakuza. It was pretty atrocious. Frank Castle didn't even have the Punisher skull throughout the entire movie. He didn't wear it once, so it was just another guy in leather killing people with lots of weapons. Dolph Lundgren, good action hero. Did we really need him for the Punisher? So, didn't like that movie. Back in 2004, Thomas Jane put on the skull t-shirt and stepped to the boots of Frank Castle. And I enjoyed this one a lot more, mainly because it was loosely based on Ennis and Dillon's original 12-issue miniseries, Welcome Back, Frank. Sure, it starred John Travolta, but you got the Russian in there, too. And so it was kind of I enjoyed it. Even though it did take place down in Florida, I still found, something to like in that movie. And then more recently, The Punisher Warzone came out. And I wanted to see that before I did this podcast. And let me tell you, I am glad I did. Stay away from this movie. It was horrible. It was just non-stop blood. I had such high hopes for this movie. But let me just give it this. The good things are that Ray Stevenson as the Punisher, very good portrayal. Very dark, very gloomy, very badass dude. It also takes place in New York City. They don't say New York City, but it takes place in a city environment. And also, they have Mike Roach in there and Jigsaw. Jigsaw as a villain in the books is really cool, but on screen, The bad things are everything else. The whole action, the deaths. If you like the movie Shoot 'Em Up, you'll love this movie. If you want something a little bit more realistic, I would recommend 2004's Thomas Jane's Punisher. I had a lot more fun with that. Well, that pretty much kind of does it Punisher-wise. I gave you some titles to look forward to. And also, just in the news, it's debuting next week. Ennis and Dillon are back. They are relaunching Punisher Warzone. So if you're interested in a little bit more Ennis and Dillon Punisher, I would check this series out. Well, comic book fans, that does it for the Punisher episode. As a little Christmas gift to you guys, I'm giving away a copy of the Punisher Xmas Special for 2008. If you want it, just go ahead and send me an email at CammysComicCorner@gmail.com. I'll randomly select it, and please, let's try to keep this in the United States. I don't want to pay 3 times what the book is actually worth for shipping over to international countries. So yes, CammysComicCorner@gmail.com if you want the Punisher Christmas Special. My little Christmas gift to you. I'm not going to guarantee it gets to you in time, but it's a gift from me to you. Also, if you like any of the t-shirts you see me wearing on the shows in the previous episodes, go over to www.deadlinegraphics.net. Send Kelly an email, and he'll give you his whole catalog of comic book shirts that he does. They're great quality, $20. you can't get more of a bargain. Just go to www.deadlinegraphics.net. And for more Cammy's Comic Corner goodness, go to www.CammysComicCorner.com. From there you can subscribe to us on iTunes or subscribe to the RSS feed. And then go chat on the forums about this episode. I'll have a thread up. You can tell me what Punisher stories you loved reading, what Punisher stories I should have covered, yada yada yada. Anything Frank Castle the Punisher. And with that, this has been Cammy's Comic Corner, the Punisher edition. Go see the new movie Warzone if you want, and I hope you go out and buy Punisher books soon. And with that, my friends, get punished.